Okay, well, God bless everybody. It is good to have you going here. We'll get this, it's already in there. Sorry, just had a little technical difficulty here. Just bear with me here. Okay. All right. So, God bless again. Welcome everybody. It is, again, great to see you. Today, the topic is spiraling in control. Spiraling in control. Now, we've all heard the expression, things are spiraling out of control. And sort of like trying to start this meeting today. And this means that things are moving so fast around us. So much is going on that we're having trouble keeping up. And we all know what that means. It's like somebody saying, man, I'm spiraling, man. But on the converse to spiraling out of control is God designed us to spiral in control. And if you look around, all of nature and even the entire universe are in constant spiral motion, and all the while maintaining a specific aspect ratio. Now, if you think about it, God uses the beauty and the momentum of His creation to move things towards you with brilliant accuracy. God even tells you that He's going to move things towards you in the Bible. And so why are we ever surprised? We know that God shall supply all our need according to His riches and glory. You know, God's crazy rich. Philippians 4:19. No good thing will He withhold from us. Psalm 84:11. God is able to bless you abundantly in all things at all times so that you could abound in everything you will ever need. 2 Corinthians 9:8. God's already given us everything we will ever need for a godly life. 2 Peter 1:3. Don't forget about the exceeding abundance beyond anything we can ask or think. Ephesians 3:20. I mean, so it's right there. See, God's designed a way of getting us everything we will ever need, from money to health to art to music to math. He even built His spiraling delivery system into nature. And I think you'll enjoy this. Now, typically, the faster something spins, the more in control it usually is. Think of the fletching of an arrow causing it to spin as it leaves the bowstring so it flies straight. What about the rifling in a gun barrel? Those spiral grooves etched in, which cause a bullet to leave the muzzle spinning at maybe 3,000 revolutions a second, you know, so that it can hit its intended target. Or a quarterback. You know, he throws a little spin on that football so that it can maintain trajectory. You know, so he can hit his receiver. You know, focused spin keeps things stable. God's controlled spin brings you abundance. The entire universe is spiraling for a reason, and the reason is you. You were spiraling around in God's thoughts long before the universe was created. Ephesians 1:4. You know, we have spiral galaxies, flowers, seed heads, seashells, and even hurricanes, all with the similar spiral dimensions. Even the double helix of DNA thrives in that same spiral formation. Art, math, ancient architecture, and pine cones all use the golden ratio. This sequence, you know, the Fibonacci, you know, to bless, to inspire, to feed, to advance us. You know, we're designed to spiral in control. Now that was quite an opening. But the point is everything in the universe. I mean, you've seen pictures of hurricanes, right? It looks like little spokes of wheels. And you look up, you've seen pictures of spiral galaxy. It's the exact same formation. You see it on the Nautilus. on seashells, on snail shells. It's all there. Flowers, you see how the petals just move a certain way. Trees spiral. It's all designed to get us what we need. Everything is moving in the universe, and it's moving towards you. We just have to believe. We have to expect that God is really our God and the supplier, the creator. So what causes us to spin out of sync with God's creation? Well, it's easy to feel as if the entire world around us is spinning out of control. Things seem out of sync. There are times when Murphy's Law seems more common than God's laws. You see, at times it seems as if some unseen force is pulling us out of our perfect orbit and forcing us into someone or something else's spiral. And at times, things seem like they're spiraling out of control. Now, maybe not for you, but they do for me sometimes. You see? And, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. 1 Peter 5:8. We've all heard that verse. He's always looking for an opening to attack. Have you ever noticed you keep getting attacked in the same places over and over and over? I think this teaching will help you. If you think about it soberly, you're going to realize that we usually get attacked the same few ways. Our perfect storm usually starts with certain triggers, certain vulnerabilities. I know mine. You know yours. But a lot of times we just say, oh well, I'm going to do it anyway. I want to add here that we could just blame the devil. Okay? We could just blame the devil. God knows he deserves it, but it's good to remind ourselves that God has set us up for success in spite of our enemy. God has set us up for success in spite of our enemy. Another thought I'm having right now is just think about the angels. 1/3 of them were kicked out, left with the devil when he left, which means there's how many, if 1/3 left, how many are on our side? 2/3. So if you have 2/3 the army, 2/3 the team, you're probably going to have a better chance at success, right? We have a great chance at success. God designed the whole universe to move things to us. God's given us a way to make the devil run. James 4:7. He'll flee. Remember that one? We can melt the hard work of the devil, 1 John 1:8. And what about greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world, 1 John 4:4. What about no weapon that's formed against you will prosper, Isaiah 54:17. Or we are super conquerors, Romans 8:37. We've already been given the victory, 1 Corinthians 15:57. We're strengthened and protected from the evil one, 2 Thessalonians 3:3. God has provided you a way out so that you can endure, 1 Corinthians 10:13. Don't be afraid. Don't waver. Face the enemy. God is with you, 2 Chronicles 20:17. The last one I'm going to share is if God is for us, who can stand against us? Romans 8:31. If God is with you, who can be against you? So I'm saying he set this whole thing up for us. Body, soul, spirit, the whole universe, the whole earth. It's all there. God's given us many ways to spiral in control. So, how to spiral in control during a controlled attack. And trust me, sometimes you're getting attacked and it's a planned attack. In fact, it always is. It always is. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, like the Bible says, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places or from on high. It's always there. All the attacks, all the fights, all the arguments, all the job losses and problems at work. all the HR problems, all the missed sales that we should have gotten and didn't get. It's all because we missed some cue. We have some open trigger. We have an opening in our armor. See, thousands of years ago, philosophers and saints alike pondered this human problem. Everybody's seen this. You see, they wanted to catalog the most common habits that distract or destroy a human life. We've all seen it. You walk past a guy in the gutter standing there with a cardboard sign. You feel bad for him. You see, I knew a man who actually set somebody up in an apartment, a homeless guy. Bought him clothes, gave him a job. And within about 2 weeks, the guy was back on the street. So, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Somebody's got to want it. They have to believe it. They have to believe that God's their supply. You see, we all want to help people. Heck, that's what makes us good humans, right? You see, thousands of years ago, they pondered this stuff. The Greeks, the Romans did. They compiled the list of the most standard things that we do that open us up to attack. And you'll find this interesting. They boiled it down to 7 or 8. And here's what they are. It's pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, and laziness. Now, some call these the 7 deadly sins. You can look them up, you see. But it didn't just start with some saint somewhere back there a few hundred years ago. The Greeks thought this stuff years ago. They used different words, you see. But the point is it's going to boil down to pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and laziness. Now, they don't all relate to me, okay? I mean, I don't respond to all those things. They're not all problems that I deal with, but I do deal with a couple of them occasionally. You see, everyone except you probably has to work on these things on a weekly basis. I know you don't, but I do. You don't, I do. I'm sure you've worked on one or more of these over the years, and some of you are getting pretty good at handling them. See, most of the time. You ever had one just pop back up? It's like, oh my God, where'd that come from? I can't believe I just said that or did that. I thought I'd kicked that. You see? Now, my list is a little bit different than some of those, but I thought of a list before I was looking this up. What is it that really stops me? And I'm going to share that with you later. I'm sure we've all worked on these things, you see, but I asked my wife what throws a person off their game, and she said, one word, fear. I said, come on, give me something. She goes, well, it is, And I said, what about greed and lust and envy and, all those things? She goes, well, they're all based on fear. And they really are. You lust because you feel like you don't have enough. You're greedy because you don't feel like you have enough. You eat too much because you feel like you don't have enough. Or whatever it is. You're afraid of something. You see, that's why we do these things. But remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear, right? But of power and of love and of a sound mind. You see, God's given it to us. We have a very strong spirit. So, now I'm going to go into something. Those are the 7 things that affect most regular people. And I think you can relate with one or more of those. Well, maybe not you who are listening, you see. I know you're better than that, but, I have to, you see. But now I'm thinking, how would you trick a perfect person? How would you trick a perfect person into opening themselves up to attack? Now, if you could find a perfect person, well, we have a couple in here with untarnished halos, maybe one, I think just one, you see, with an untarnished halo. But You know, if you could find a perfect person, how would you get him or her to spin out? Remember, we're talking about spinning in control. A controlled spin makes things more accurate. You ever driven down the road and you hit black ice, and all of a sudden your car is just going, just spinning? It's sort of spooky. You don't really know where it's going to stop. I don't think that life is supposed to be that way. We should be able to know where our next meal is coming from. We should be able to know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, many things. I mean, we believe things like, oh, we know we're going to heaven. Most Christians think that. Most people on earth think that. You see? You know, we know there's a God. We know there's a devil. There's a lot of things we know. I know I'm hungry. You know? We know a lot of things. You know, but what is it? What is it that could trick a perfect person? And I think you'll be a little bit surprised. Hopefully you won't, but maybe you will. You see, if you could find a perfect person, how would you get him or her to spin out? Now the serpent, and I really don't like that, like in Genesis, because everybody thinks of a snake, okay, carrying an apple in its mouth, okay. Now I've never seen that, okay. I've seen a lot of snakes. You know, and usually a snake isn't going to be something that's going to deceive somebody. It's just sort of a weird thing. It's because it's not really a good translation. It's talking about the stealthiness, okay? But really, if you take that word back a couple of layers, that word serpent in Genesis, it means shiny one. It means shiny one. And so basically, oh, let me see here. It means a shiny one. And the devil was the shiny one. He was Lucifer, right? Lucifer means light. He was bright. He was brilliant. You see, he was the most powerful, the smartest, and most beautiful spiritual being under God. You see, but he tried this four-pronged attack. It's three basically under the umbrella of one thing, which I'll show you in just a second. And he uses four-prong attack to get a truly spiritual person to spiral out of control. I mean, Eve she did not know lack. She'd never experienced lack, ever. Never experienced a lack never experienced mental pressure. Never experienced a lot of things that we deal with daily. She just lived in paradise and perfection. A life that we would like. It was easy. She was beautiful. She didn't need to look at herself in a mirror. There wasn't a mirror. You see? She had a handsome husband. I guess. You see? I mean, so... basically, so how did he get her spiral out of control? Go to Genesis chapter 3, and we're going to move through this sort of quickly here. And in Genesis chapter 3, and we're going to read 1 through 5, and I'm going to read it from the Voice. So, all of the wild creatures, the eternal God had created, of all the wild creatures the eternal God had created, the serpent was the craftiest. I'm sure he must have had one of those handlebar mustaches, waxed. You see, and the serpent to the woman, is it true that God has forbidden you to eat the fruit from the trees of the garden? He probably didn't come at her too strong. Is it really true? You see? And Eve said, no, serpent. God said we're free to eat of the fruit from the trees of the garden. We're guaranteed access to any variety and all amounts of the fruit with one exception. The fruit from the tree found in the center of the garden. God instructed us not to eat or touch the fruit of that tree or we would die. Now, she'd never seen death. She'd never seen death. never probably knew a human to die. At least not a true human. You see? Well, my mind's going somewhere else. I better bring it back now. Okay, so serpent. Die? No, you'll not die. God's playing games with you. The truth is that God knows the day that you eat the fruit from that tree, you're going to awaken into something powerful. You're going to become like Him, possessing knowledge of both good and evil. See, first the tempter got the supremely spiritually capable Eve to question her belief system. And here's a point I want to make, is what I realized is once you doubt yourself, you question your belief system, you doubt yourself, then you are open to all sorts of attack. That's really the key, and you're going to see this with Eve, and you're going to see it with Jesus in just a minute. It's always the first thing. And when we, as regular humans, when we doubt ourselves, do good things usually happen? No, usually don't do anything. You see? I mean, you've been beat with step one. So really, this is the overarching thing. This is the soup that everything floats around in. You see, this is that Jell-O, that holds those 3 other points, like your aunt used to make. You put a bunch of junk in there when you went to Thanksgiving. See, she got the person to question. The serpent got the person to question their belief, or to question themselves. Do I? Did God really say that? Now we think, well, I would never fall for that. But if you've ever said, come on, God, what's going on? How come you didn't bless me? How come that person got sick? How come that person died? What's going on, God? That's the same thing. You're questioning your belief. You see? Now, number 2, he got her to believe this new way of thinking was not going to kill her. I'm going to be fine if I do or don't do. You see, number 3, next he got her to believe that her spiritual eyes will be opened even wider with little or no work. I'll explain that in a minute. It's just going to be magical. Just like you want your bank account to be magically filled. You see. And number 4, finally he got her to believe that she actually had the ability to be just like God. Now, does it sound implausible? We've been taught so much on this. I know it's hard for you to keep your minds on this, and I apologize for that. I'm not trying to wear out an old subject. I just want you to think for a minute. See, now let's say this in modern terms. Number 1, we doubt what we believe, or we begin to doubt ourselves. We secretly ask ourselves, can I really do this? Can God actually do this for me? Can I really prosper? Can I really reign in my health or regain my health? Can I really find true love, or am I just screwed up and destined to fail? Now, these are things you wouldn't tell anybody else. These are things that go on inside your own noggin, you see. So we doubt what we believe, or we doubt ourselves. Number 2, we selfishly take unnecessary risks with our diet and bodies. We take unnecessary risks with our emotions and our health. Now you can fill in a lot of blanks on that one. And if I say too much, my wife said people will get upset on this one. When it comes to, people wonder why they're sick, and they know they did something they shouldn't have done for 30 years or 20 years. They smoked too much, they ate too much, they drank too much, they did something, or they didn't do enough of those things. You see? And then they go, come on, God. Come on, God. You're supposed to heal me. You know, that's selfish. Okay? Don't take unnecessary risks. Number 3, we get lazy and we want a fast fix instead of putting in the work. We want a fast fix. Think of wealth, health, friends, Facebook. You know, I got 400 friends. No, you don't. You got 2. You know, you got a bunch of people that you know on Facebook. It's a great place to connect, but it's not a substitute for real life touch. You can't marry somebody on Facebook. That'd be horrible. You know, maybe somebody has. I don't know. You know, probably. People married their cars. You know? So now number 4, we pridefully lust after fame and fortune. Now I know none of you have ever wanted to be rich and famous. No one's ever watched a show like that. No one's ever thought of themselves on stage with a gold grill, laying down some good rap or something, you know, a real fancy axe guitar, you know, really wailing, really jamming. You see, never thought of yourself as plowing through the biggest guys on the other NFL team or just avoiding them and scoring that touchdown, diving, doing a somersault in the air and landing on your feet and then throwing it over the goalpost, you know. I mean, no one's ever thought of stuff like that, you see. But we want, you know, we pridefully, if you got the ability to do that stuff, great. Nothing wrong with that. I guess that's not lust then, you see, if you're doing it. So 4 of those deadly sins are in there: pride, greed, lust. We had pride, we had lust, we had laziness in there. What was that other one? Selfish. You see, I mean, they're all in there. You know, pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, laziness. They're all under that umbrella of doubting our beliefs in ourselves. Or as my wife said, fear. It's always fear. You see, and so think about how a child believes. And this is sort of weird to think about, but it's really good. And Jesus used this example much better than I'm about to. You see, but you know, a little kid, a baby in a mother's arms, they could look at a guy with tattoos all over his face. He's a known murderer. The police are hauling him into the precinct, and the little kid will stare him down and make him avert his eyes, right? Make him turn his head. You see? I mean, because kids, they don't know. They haven't been told that that's a bad guy or this or that. You see? Now, they want to be fed. So what do? They make a fuss, right? And how long do they make a fuss? Until they get fed. That's exactly how God wants us to believe or go for our goals. You make a fuss until you get what you want. Of course, sometimes in society you have to, you know, be a little different than a baby, you see. You know, what about, you ever taken a kid to the store and they throw themselves down on the floor, or seen it? I know none of your kids ever did that stuff. And they threw themselves on the floor and they're kicking their legs and they're just screaming because they want a toy or they want some candy. And then the parents start saying, you know, get up. You're going to get it when you get out to the car. And the kid will say, you can't do nothing because there's cameras out there now, Mom. You see? And, you know, well, you don't get any screen time tonight. Oh, boo-hoo. You know, you're going to give in anyway. They're going to scream and scream until they get that candy or that car. They know they might get a punishment down the road, but they're going to get it. You're going to give it to them. Why? Because they're persistent. You see? Now, it doesn't mean that's the way to do it as an adult. I'm just saying that's the attitude. That's the attitude. You know, they don't have self-doubt yet. They haven't had that trained into them, but we have. I mean, what do they say? By the time you're 5, you've heard no 1,000,000 times or something like that? my house, it was like by lunchtime, a million times. With me, it was by breakfast. I had already heard it a million times. You see, my halo is quite tarnished. You see, so, you know, they know how to believe. They would be great car salesmen. You see, they'd even be better closers, right? They would not take no for an answer. You ever had a salesperson just skillfully just take you through the process before you knew it, you were signing in? It's like, what just happened? You know what I mean? They just knew, they knew exactly how to do it. Well, that's what we're talking about here. You see? Well, once we begin to doubt ourselves, now if that salesperson doubts himself, are they going to sell? No. No, there's not a chance in hell. There's not a chance in hell they're going to. You see, when we begin to doubt ourselves and we know, you know, and we stop believing in what we really want, we're wide open to attack. You see, we stop our controlled spin. Remember that football? You see, a football kicked flies differently than a football spiraled, right? It just goes, hey, it's harder to catch, right? You ever tried to catch a football and, you know, it's just spinning through the air? But one that's thrown just right may be easier. It's more direct. You see, if you want to receive what God has, He's spiraling to you. It's a perfect spiral. God perfectly spirals things to you. God can hit the target every single time. He knows exactly how to get you what you want. You see, you don't even have to kick and scream like a child. You see, so we stop our controlled spin when we begin to doubt ourselves. You know, and that's that thing that connects us to all that's good and right and true and loving. And that begins to deteriorate. Our orbit begins to deteriorate. The whole universe is going one way, and we slow down and we start falling another. If we could just be in sync with God, if we can just be in sync with God, if we can just fit with how things are moving, how He gives, how we receive, you're going to have every single thing that He promised you. How would you like that? How would you like to have all your need met? How many of us really have that? Just think about it. Well, why don't we? Well, it's somewhere we're out of sync. Somewhere we have a deteriorating orbit. See, we're not right in there, you know, with the golden ratio, so to speak. You know, so you know, so here's 6 tricks, the same tricks twice, and we're going to see how the tempter attacked Jesus. Seemed like he would have learned from Eve, but he thought, I'm going to give it a try. In fact, I'm going to give it a double hard try. And he attacked Jesus. And now he caused Eve to spin out for a while. She was sliding on black ice. You see, she was out of control for a while. You see, and she had been perfect. But he got her to doubt herself. First, doubt that she really believed what God said. Okay. Another way to look at this section, if you really want it to pertain to you, is this section is how a very strong, extremely spiritually able person gets attacked and how they can solve it. And that's you, folks. Think about you. You see, you get attacked at these same things. You get attacked at these same things all the time. And these are what cause us to fail and to fall and to falter. For me, now my most vulnerable, really, I tried to think it through, and I think I'm most vulnerable after a big life moment. Like I do a good teaching, and then somebody walks up to me after, I didn't like it when you said that. You know, or I get an email or a Facebook post or something. It's like, come on, man. You know? I mean, if you don't like it, I shouldn't mind, but I do, you see. And a teaching, or let's just say you musicians, You see, you get out there, you play a great concert. You see, you shredded it. You see, and then people aren't paying attention. You know, they're drinking their drinks or talking, and you're just up there playing by yourself. That'd be off-putting, wouldn't it? You see, it's a big life moment for me. Or what about when you begin a new endeavor? That's when you're usually the weakest. Josephine called this transition. You're going through transition. You move into a new city, move into a new home, move into a new job. You start a new endeavor, a career change, a relationship change, one way or the other. You see, we're vulnerable at that time. I'm vulnerable at that time. Then when I'm really personally vulnerable, like I'm tired or hungry or cold or really something, when I'm needy. We've all been there at times. Emotionally, sometimes you're just so hungry you'd do anything, or thirsty. It's all been there. I remember when I played football in Texas, high school football, our coach he told us if we drank water during practice that we were pussies. And so Texas is like 110 degrees in August, right when you start. And so we'd be playing, you couldn't swallow anymore. You had no more juice. And you couldn't, there was no Gatorade, there was nobody squirting anything in your face, you see. It wasn't like that. We couldn't drink until we went in from practice. Because he thought, and I think everybody was a Texas boy, so they were used to the heat. Nobody passed out, nobody died, you see. Nobody played inside either in those days. So it's a little bit different, you see. And when we go in there, it was gang showers, just a big room with all these shower heads. Everybody strips naked and they turn on the cold and they just drink out of the shower. That's the fastest way to get water. And everybody's doing that. It was sort of a sight to see, but it's just a weird thing, you see. So, but you get vulnerable. I've been so cold that I couldn't even put my key in my car door. I went on runs before. And I got so cold because it rained and then snowed and then froze and I wasn't dressed right. And it's like I would have done anything at times just to be warm again. You see? Or sometimes when I'm alone, when you have nobody to bounce an idea off of. People aren't really meant to be alone. Some people are better at being alone, but not many. You got the Basque sheep herders. We have generations of people that they've been trained to be alone and to be alone with their own thoughts. Most of us have never been alone for a full day or two, you see. Some of us have, but not many. It's different, you see. Solitary confinement drives people crazy. Why? Because they're alone. There's nobody to bounce an idea off of. You see, and number 5, when I get attacked from an unexpected source, and that's usually people closest to me. Like if one of you who are listening, if you attacked me just out of the blue, it would be very off-putting. It would shake me for a second. Maybe not right after this teaching, you see, but you get the point. We've all had that happen. A family member says something, you come home to a loved one, you get a text, a breakup text, something, just some ridiculous thing. Break up on Facebook. You got unfriended. Whatever it is, you get the point. So here we go, Luke 4. I better keep going here. All right. So Luke 4, and Jesus, being full of the Holy Ghost, returned from Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, and being 40 days tempted of the devil. Now that's a lot of temptation. I don't want one day. I couldn't handle it. 40 days tempted of the devil, and in those days he did eat nothing. And when they were ended, he afterward hungered. I would say so. Okay? Now notice it was 40 days he was tempted, and there were many temptations. There's many more than the ones we're going to talk about here. Now, some of these 6 that I'm going to talk about happen in quick succession. I know your church taught you that there was 3. I'm going to teach you there was 6. Okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about. But you have to go to different Gospels. You have to, only part of it is in each one. Okay? So some of these 6 things happen in fairly quick succession. So look for the word then, and you'll see that. And you're going to see we're going to see 2 sets of 3 temptations. So trick number 1, and this is really talking about the physical need. And so I think about this, how we have to realize that God supplies our need. And so here we go, verse 3. And the devil said unto him, If thou be the Son of God, command this stone that it be made bread. And then Jesus answered him, saying, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. Okay, now, so this uses the word devil instead of the word tempter. So it's a different thing. Okay, and then the word stone, it won't mean anything to you yet, but it's in the singular. It means a stone. Command this stone right here to be made a piece of bread. And he said, it's written, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word of God. Now, he was hungry, okay? He wasn't tempted to eat a rock. I mean, he's not stupid. You see, though those rocks looked like stones, looks like you see some of the river rocks that we have, they look like little loaves of round Italian bread. They might, especially if they had a little snow on it, right? Little frosting, you see. So now trick 2 is the promise of power. And remember, God's given us the power over ourselves and to help other people. So verse 5. And the devil, taking him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto him, All this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will, I give it. If thou therefore wilt worship me, all will be thine. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Get thee behind me, Satan, for it's written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and only him shalt thou serve. Now, taking him up, it says the devil took him up. It's the Greek word paralambano, and that means to hold him near. That means the devil showed up in the image of a human, and it grabbed him. Imagine how creepy that would be to Jesus, knowing who this was. And the world, and the word, world, it's oikumene, and it means the habitable places of the earth. And which really at that time was the Roman Empire. That's what they knew as the earth, around the Mediterranean. So he's talking about, he says, man, you worship me, and I'm going to give you the Roman Empire. Now, was there other people who wanted to be part of the Roman Empire, wanted to be the emperor? Yeah. Did anybody ever kill anybody else because they wanted to be the emperor? Sure. You ever heard of those stories way back? Yeah. I mean, it's brutal. You think politics are bad today? Et tu, Brute? You see? You think politics are bad today? Gosh, they are. They were deadly way back then. Probably deadly today too, more than we know. So, and then he goes, all this power and glory will I give you. Power and glory. Now the devil manipulates power over people as he sees fit. He's only limited by the Spirit of God in action, and at times, just good old-fashioned grit. You don't even have to be born again at times to back down the devil. If you've been weak at drugs or something, you can say, no more. I am never going to do it again. You know, you don't have to have the Spirit of God to do that, and you will never, you can get to the point where no matter what temptation's coming, you're never going to do it again, or never going to have a drop of drink again if you had that problem, or never smoke, or whatever it is. I'm never going to eat gluten. I'm never going to eat sugar again. I'm never going to drink a soda again. You see? I've done that for a couple of years now. You see? I mean, I loved Diet Cokes at one time. I wouldn't want one. I have no desire anymore. I don't eat cakes and sugar anymore. Unless one person makes special stuff, then I might. So, but enough on all that. You see, old-fashioned grit. Now, the Spirit of God doesn't do you any good unless you have grit. But it can get you to see things that nobody else can see. That's why you want to learn to walk by the Spirit, folks. Or else, what's the point of it, right? If you can do everything with just good old hard work and believing, then you're just like everybody else. There has to be an advantage, but that's another teaching. Now, trick number 3, prove your worth. Or your life is precious, so you got to love yourself. You got to love yourself. And I love this part. Verse 9, and he brought him to Jerusalem. Who brought whom? This is the devil. Looking like a human. Brought Jesus to Jerusalem. Okay? And set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said unto him, that's weird, and set him. Okay, son. And set him on the pinnacle of a temple. You know? And it doesn't mean that they flew there. They brought him. They probably just walked there. Just imagine what Jesus had to do in his mind. He's hungry. He still hasn't eaten. Okay? Now he's walking all the way back to Jerusalem. You see? Climbing all the stairs. You ever been so tired you could hardly climb stairs? What if you didn't eat for 40 days and 40 nights? And you've been tempted all those days by different things. Harassed by animals, it says in one place. You see? He said, he set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down from hence. For it is written, here's the devil quoting scripture, he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee. And in their hands they shall bear thee up. He probably looked just like a preacher, right? The hair, just perfect, right? He had the little napkin. He's wiping his brow, you know, as he's talking. You see? You know, he has a choir behind him. You see? I mean, he goes, he give his angels charge over thee. His hands, they shall bear thee up, lest at any time ye shall dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus answering said unto him, it is said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Now he's standing up on this pinnacle, hadn't eaten in 40 days, tired, hungry, and sort of weirded out. Maybe, maybe not. You see? And verse 13, when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed from him for a season. Mm-hmm. Now, season just means for a time. It doesn't mean winter, summer, spring, and fall. Okay? In other words, he's up there, and so he just disappears. Jesus, aren't you going to help me down, dude? No. Yeah. You know, he disappears. His little mustache going, you know. Gets on out of there. You see, puts his hanky back away. You see, brought him, again is that word paralambano, he held him near. You see, and keep thee. The word keep thee is not in Matthew. This is a different section here. You know, and this is the only time Jesus responded with, it is said. Not just it is written. So the spoken word and the written word are both important. Okay? They're both important. You need both. You see? And the word tempt means to put to the test or to test drive. That's what the word tempt means. You know, it's like to test drive a car. And he uses the term devil and not Satan here. See, the devil leaves on his own, but just for a period of time. Now, trick number 4. Now we're going through the second set of these 3 things. Going through the second set. Okay. Now, now God, this is trick 4. Again, this is the physical need being met. And we have to remember again that God supplied our need. Verse 3, and the tempter came to him, and when the tempter came to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Okay, now he uses the word tempter here, not the devil. The devil had come back to him after a period of time. Now, was it a moment? I don't know. I don't know. You see, and the word stones here are in the plural. So now he said they make these stones plural bread. Jesus is really hungry now. He's really hungry. Now, trick 5. This is prove yourself. Remember, your life is precious, so you love yourself. Now, I didn't say this the last time, but remember he said, throw yourself down, God's going to take care of you. I didn't explain that, but so I'll explain it this time. Then verse 5, then the devil taketh him up into the holy city. Now again, takes him into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it's written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands shall they bear thee up, lest at any time thou shalt dash thy foot against a stone. And Jesus said unto him, it is written again. It is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. See, the word then means in quick succession. So they must have left and then come right back. You see, and the devil takes him, paralambano, held him close a second time. You see, and again means once again. So this is a second time, and so what this means, throw yourself down. Now, it seems ridiculous, but the devil is trying to get him to think that if he threw himself off, that God's angels were going to catch him. And you think, well, that's ridiculous. Well, now I ask you something, all you mature people. Have you ever done anything that you knew was bad for you, but you did it anyway?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, one of you have. You see? Everybody else is keeping their straight poker face. You know what I'm talking about. You know you shouldn't be doing that. You know you should have quit. You see? But you do it anyway. And you know it's hurting you, but you do it anyway. Is that any different than this? It's no different, folks. If you're a spiritually minded person, and we fall into the trap where we want God to do all this stuff for us, yet we're not willing to put in the work here, or to stop doing something over here, what difference is that? Probably we've had it whispered into our ear, go ahead. It ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter. Well, calories add up, don't they? One cookie here, one cookie there, one piece of candy here. Pretty soon you're 300 pounds. I know I got big one time thinking that way. Had all kinds of excuses too. You see? So, but it works with anything. Not making sales, right? You don't make your calls. You don't set your appointments. You don't close the deal. You don't follow up on your clients to make sure they're okay. You ain't gonna have any clients soon enough, right? So, trick 6, the promise of power. This is the final answer. God gives us the power to love others. God gives us the power to take care of ourselves. And this is the devil's final attempt to change Jesus' mind. Oh my gosh. Verse 8, again the devil taketh them up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth them all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. And he saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. And Jesus said, "Get thee hence, Satan, for it's written, Thou shalt serve the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels come and ministered unto him." Probably fed him. He's probably wiped out. You ever been in a real confrontation, a real tough one, and you're just drained after it? Real emotional battle with your ex-spouse or something, it's horrible. A child that's gone out of control, an adult child. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You see, again, the word again means once again. He led them once more up into that mountain, and they probably walked up there again. Devil's trying to wear him down. He's not flying him around. That would be fun. You see, he taketh him up. It means he led him up. This time there's no embrace. He take them up means he led them up. The devil's not standing close to Jesus this time. He may be realizing that, the jig's up. It ain't going to happen. And of course, it's an exceeding high mountain. And this time he didn't offer him, this time it's not the word for inhabited earth. This time it's the word cosmos, which means the whole of the planet. This time he offered him the whole world, not just the inhabited areas, not just Jerusalem and the surrounding environs. You see, and he talks about these things will I give you. Jesus told Satan to leave, and this is the only time Satan was used in Mark chapter 1. So 4 times the devil said, if you be the Son of God. And all 4 of those times the temptation revolved around or supported one's physical life. You see, the other 2 temptations delve into spiritual power and worship. You see, Jesus didn't allow ego, lust, self-consciousness, fear, anything to come between him and his mission for God. See, a child never starts out with self-doubt. They don't lust for things that they don't have because they think the whole world already belongs to them, right? Doesn't God say that he'll supply all our need according to his riches and glory? So what are we worried about? So when things are moving so fast around us, so much is going on, we're having trouble keeping up, when we feel like we're spiraling out of control, let's remember that God uses the beauty and momentum of his creation to move things towards you with brilliant accuracy. And when we love ourselves, love others, and love God, we will be spinning in control. God bless.